So here's my hole. Not terribly far from the house. So yeah, that's a that's a 10-foot piece that's in the hole. So I guess what is that? 7 or 8 feet at the very most. And I've already hit water. So this is what my soil looked like. Started out here, ended up here, and now we're getting pretty wet. All right, so interestingly, there's the saturated clay. I think because I'm not there yet and I gave it time to saturate, that's why that happened. And then I started to get into more firm clay, like before it started getting wet. And last couple shovelfuls, I'm out of the clay, and now I'm in what's mostly sand. The sand, usually the table that holds the surface water is mostly sandy, so hopefully I'm getting close. So the sand here is actually really nice and fine. Much more pure sand, not really any clay in there. Almost none. Yeah. Yeah. Real deep red now, still mostly just sand. Here you go, kid.
That's water.
That's water.
That's water. I think we're losing most of the dirt back in here.
All right, got water. All right, everybody. So after hours of pounding, it was a little tight. I got my 6-inch. This was supposed to be about an 8-inch hole, but due to the couplings and it not being perfectly straight, this is 6-inch PVC. It's a 10-foot stick of it's $100, so it was not cheap, but it's a Schedule 40, so I know this thing is not going to collapse in on me. Sometimes with thinner stuff, you know, if the ground shifts too much, you can have issues. But yeah, had to sink it in the hole, and after I glued my pieces together, sledgehammered on it a little bit. That's the blocks of wood. All that's left to do to seal it up, I'm gonna dig around the base, remove a bunch of soil, and pour a little slab around the base to seal it up. At the bottom, I've got my perforations in the pipe. You know, you just use your Dremel or your whatever kind of cutter to cut holes in the bottom so your water can seep in and hopefully too much sand doesn't get in. And the teeth at the bottom help me sink it down a little further. So yeah, with the 6-inch diameter inside here, it's gonna allow me some more options. I'm gonna do a submersible since this is 27 feet. Once you get to, you know, 25 feet or so, I mean, the deeper you go, the much bigger, more powerful motor you're gonna have to use to suck water up. Motors are really good at sucking water in and spitting them out a long distance, but they're not good at sucking from a long distance. So instead of having a motor up here that's sucking water out, which would have to be really high amperage and use a lot of energy, I'm going to do a submersible. The only caveat on the submersibles is that the submersibles are mostly made for your typical deep water wells, and they're requiring both above and below the pump, you know, maybe up to 10 feet or so of water. They need a lot of water on top of them and a lot of water beneath them, I guess, so the pump doesn't overheat. They're really powerful, so the drawdown, when they start sucking, it'll lower that water level while it's sucking. And so a better option for me with this is going to be a submersible, kind of a general purpose water pump, and you can buy those things. They're a lot shorter. You can pull them up and out whenever you need. They're just a lot lower maintenance. And because this is a 6-inch diameter hole, I have a lot of options. If you only drilled or augered a 4-inch, 5-inch hole, the pumps on the market are 4 inches in diameter, a little less. So they fit inside 4-inch casing, but they're super tall. So this will give me a shorter pump that I can adjust and play with. I can stick my auger back in this if I ever need to dig down again. A smaller, shallower auger will fit in here if my water table starts to lower a little bit. So in hindsight, even though it was really expensive and the hole was bigger with the 8-inch auger bits, yeah, I'm glad I did a 6-inch. So anyway, that's gonna wrap it up. If you guys have any questions, you know, this is my first one, but maybe I can give you some pointers. One last thing for the fellow East Texans, I just wanted to show y'all kind of what I was getting into. Let me move this. This was the first stuff. This is the red clay, the most difficult to drill through. And then I started getting into sand. The sand started getting very, very deep red. And then from the deep red, it started lightening up and getting orange. This sand's it's been raining, so it's kind of scattered, and kind of my final sand was over here as I was hitting, and right before I was hitting the water. It's well, sort of a pinkish sand, but the clay out here was right under the surface, so the clay was I mean, with that auger, it really wasn't difficult, but the clay was the hardest stuff. After that, that hand auger is just scraping up sand. It was actually pretty easy.